Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurul Azleen with ZULKAFPLEE. I am from UTHM student will present the final year project 1 with the title of Prediction Future Temperature by Sdsm and Precis at Catchment Bukit Merah. As we know, temperature readings on Earth's atmosphere have clearly shown the planet's climate is warming. Climate change is a worldwide phenomenon comprising of three distinct signals, which are rapidly rising global average temperatures, shift in global rainfall trends, and rising sea levels. Water resources and other factors of life in both developed and emerging countries are being impacted by global climate change. According to some studies, Peninsular Malaysia is likely to see a steady temperature increase of between 0.5 degrees Celsius and 1.5 degrees Celsius. Climate change research has become increasingly important as a result of global warming. Climate scenarios depend on numerical climate models, and the ongoing evolution of this model has been facilitated by a significant increase in computing power in recent decades, with supercomputer speed rising by approximately a factor 2 of a million in the 3 decades since the 1970s. Thus, these projections have been used to assess long-term climate change. So, global climate models serve as a test platform for numerical simulation of historical, current, and future climate transition. In this study, the statistic downscaling model (SDSM) will be used to forecast the potential uncertainties of climate instability and climate change. Okay, for the problem statement, there are two issues that can be observed at the study area which related with the climate change. First, the main issue at Bukit Merah Reservoir is that its capacity has dwindled. The rate of decay of this reservoir is unclear, but the measured reservoir capacity is around 60% to 65%. The major cause of reservoir storage loss has been found as sedimentation and plants. The uncontrolled development and land operation in catchment areas speed up the rate of sedimentation in reservoirs. The second issue in current irrigation schemes faces difficulties in maintaining irrigation water supply according to climate change and water demand for paddy irrigation necessitates a flexible water supply due to geographical and temporal variations. We can observe that climate change is having a major influence on irrigation water demand based on some global studies. So, the objective of the study first is to downscale the present climate variable, which is temperature, for the Bukit Merah Basin using Sdsm model. Then it continues with downscale the future climate variables for the same study area using Sdsm model. And the last one is to predict the temperature impacts of climate change on Bukit Merah Reservoir from period of 2022 until 2050 and compare with precise data from Nurul. Next is the scope of the current study. It focuses on running the statistical downscaling model (SDSM) for climate variables at Bukit Merah Reservoir for the future period of 2022 to 2050 years. The statistics on current and future temperature data at the study area is gathered in order to analyze and process with SDSM software. Then it covers the measuring of data to predict possible future impacts of climate change. So, in order to achieve the objective of the study, both Sdsm and Precise Regional Climate Model were used for collecting and simulating the data. Okay, there are few literature reviews that related with this study. A series of analyses on the changes climate events were conducted under climate policy intervention scenarios in this study might be contribute to the assessment of the impact and vulnerability to climate change. The statistical downscaling approaches are extremely simple to implement where it does not require a huge amount of observed data and may be transferred between regions. These are referred from some study at 2013 and 2011. Moreover, SDSM is best defined as a combination of the random weather generator and regression-based approaches in the classification of downscaling technique, also from Wilby and Dawson study at 2013. Besides, the precise model created by the Met Office in the United Kingdom is a regional climate model that may be used to forecast future regional climate. Various countries including India, China, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom have employed the precise model to assess future probable change at the regional scale and have conducted some studies to estimate future climate change at 2013. Also, based on research from year 2010, a regional climate model has the advantage of being able to simulate present climate more realistically and forecast climate change with more precision. This is the flow chart of study which contains 8 steps. First, it needs to be started and study the site area which is at Bukit Merah Reservoir and collect the data from station of temperature. Then it will proceeding with the climate model downscaling by Sdsm and analyzing the comparison between Sdsm and precise data that contain from Nahrim. The process will continue with the result and discussion which explain the overall outcome. Then can conclude findings and finish the study. As shown in this slide, the study area is located at Bukit Merah Reservoir in Perak, Malaysia. The reservoir is separated into two parts, which are the northern and southern parts. In this area, BMR land use consisted mostly of virgin and primary forests of 46.29%, agriculture from palm oil plantation, and a breeding farming industry for about 48 and 80%. As shown in the figure, there are two main rivers at the area which are Ara and Kurau River. The BMR is the Korean irrigation scheme's primary water supply for irrigation. Okay, for the study data, there are two sources that need to be referred. First is meteorological data and second is topography and climate of the study area. The temperature data will be collected from info station. There is just one temperature station was included, presuming that the spatial temperature difference was not observable across the study area. Then the data precise from Nahrim also will be included for the discussion part. Besides, the site area is located partially in the Bintang Range and partially in the main range, where the topography is steep and mountainous in the upper level. The study area's climatic features are tropical and typically high humidity as well as consistently high temperature throughout the year. From the previous study, the highest temperature measured was 35.8 degrees Celsius, while the lowest temperature was 32 degrees Celsius. From this slide, it shows the overall project methodology. Firstly, SDSM model requires data which local observed data, known as predicted, and larger scale data, different atmospheric variable known as predictors, which is NCEP variables and GCM variables. Then the NCEP data is obtained from Canadian Climate Impact Scenarios website for the period 1961 until 2005. There are several screen variables and calibrate model, but the predictors variable that need to be chosen in calibrated model is same with the predictors variables that chosen in screen variables. After that, two scenario generators have been generated with a RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5. Then it proceeds with the model output and summarize the statistics. Then for analyzing, the result can be compared with the precise temperature data that collect from Nahrim research, and all the result can be illustrated in graph or chart for better understanding. So, for the expected results, the future minimum and maximum temperature variable generated by the interface and analysis of future changes for GCM scenarios combination with respect to the baseline were expected to be carried out for future period of 2022 until 2050. The coordinates of climate stations within the reservoir were used to select GCM grid points. Each GCM contains 4 grid points, and the station chosen were expected to fit within a single grid cell in the GCM utilized in this study. The expected data such as mean monthly temperature projected by RCP scenarios will be obtained and analyzed. Then the SDSM's result was expected to be compared with the precise data from Nahrim research. So, for this study, as projected by SDSM, by the end of the 21st century, the maximum and minimum temperatures are predicted to be higher than in the baseline period, and the changes will be compatible with the variability in radiative forcing pathway under the chosen RCP scenarios. A series of analyses on the changes climate events were conducted under climate policy intervention scenarios in the study might be contribute to the assessment of the impact and vulnerability to climate change. Here are some citations that have been referred for this presentation, which are the studies from 2010 until 2014. And yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.